Hello everyone, and welcome back to Chill English Channel. We're really happy you're spending your time learning English with us today.
Hi friends, it's great to have you here again. Whether you're relaxing, walking, or just taking a quiet moment, we're glad you're learning English with us.
I'm Sophia.
And I'm Jake.
And today we're going to talk about a very meaningful topic.
That's right. Today we're going to talk about goals and dreams.
This is something everyone has.
Yes, even if your goals are small or simple, they are still important.
And learning how to talk about your goals and dreams in English is very useful.
Because this topic comes up in many conversations.
For example, people might ask, "What are your goals?"
Or, what is your dream?
You might also hear, "What do you want to do in the future?"
So today, we'll help you talk about this topic in a clear and natural way.
Before we begin, if you enjoy calm and simple English conversations like this, please subscribe to Chill English Channel.
Subscribing helps us continue creating relaxed and useful lessons for you.
All right, Jake, let's start with a simple question.
I had a feeling you were going to ask me something.
Don't worry, it's an easy one.
Okay, I'm ready.
What is one of your goals right now?
That's a good question.
Take your time.
I think one of my goals is to improve my daily routine.
That sounds interesting.
Yes, I want to wake up earlier and use my time better.
That's a very common goal.
What about you, Sophia?
I would say one of my goals is to learn new skills.
Like what?
For example, I want to learn how to cook better.
That's a great goal. I would enjoy that too.
Yes, it's useful and also fun.
Now, let's help our listeners talk about their own goals.
A very common question is, what are your goals?
You can answer in a simple way.
For example, my goal is to improve my English.
Or, my goal is to find a better job.
These sentences are simple and clear.
But we can make them a little better.
Yes, by adding more detail.
Here is a useful pattern.
The pattern is, my goal is to, because.
For example, my goal is to learn English because I want to travel.
Or, my goal is to save money because I want to buy a house.
Notice how the second part gives a reason.
This makes your answer more interesting.
Now, let's talk about dreams.
A dream is often something bigger.
Yes, it is something you really want in the future.
For example, my dream is to travel around the world.
Or, my dream is to start my own business.
Dreams can take a long time, but they give us motivation.
Let's look at a useful pattern for dreams.
The pattern is, my dream is to,
For example, my dream is to become a teacher.
or my dream is to live in another country.
Very simple and very natural.
Now let's compare goals and dreams.
Goals are often short-term.
That means something you want to do soon.
Dreams are often long-term.
That means something you want in the future.
But sometimes they are connected.
Yes, your goals can help you reach your dreams.
For example, my goal is to study every day.
And my dream is to become a doctor.
The goal helps the dream.
That's a very important idea.
Now let's learn another useful question.
The question is, what do you want to do in the future? This is very common in conversations.
You can answer like this. I want to,
For example, I want to travel more.
or I want to learn new things.
You can also say, I would like to.
This sounds a little more polite.
For example, I would like to start my own business.
Or, I would like to work in another country.
Both are correct.
Now let's build a longer answer.
For example, my goal is to improve my English.
I study a little every day.
I want to use English in my job.
That answer is clear and complete.
Now let's talk about small goals.
Not all goals are big.
Yes, some goals are very simple.
For example, my goal is to read every day.
Or, My goal is to exercise 3 times a week.
These are small but important goals.
They help you build good habits.
And good habits help you reach bigger goals.
That's a great point.
Now let's learn some useful vocabulary.
The word goal.
A goal is something you want to achieve.
The word dream.
A dream is something you really want in the future.
Another useful word is plan.
A plan is how you will reach your goal.
For example, I have a plan to study every day.
Another useful word is future.
For example, I want to work in education in the future.
Now let's look at some example sentences.
My goal is to improve my skills.
My dream is to travel around the world.
I have a plan to study every day.
I want to build a better future.
These sentences are very useful.
You can use them in many situations.
Now let's talk about how to sound more natural.
Instead of saying just one sentence, try to add more detail.
For example, my goal is to learn English.
That's okay, but we can improve it.
You can say, my goal is to learn English because I want to travel and meet new people.
That sounds much better.
Let's try another example.
My dream is to have a good job.
We can improve it. My dream is to have a good job where I can help others.
Now it sounds more personal.
And more natural.
Let's ask another question.
Okay, I'm ready.
Do you think goals are important?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because goals help us focus.
That's true.
They give us direction.
Without goals, it's easy to feel lost.
Exactly.
What about dreams?
Dreams are also important.
Why?
Because they give us motivation.
I agree.
Even if a dream is big, it helps us move forward.
That's a nice way to think about it.
Now let's give our listeners a simple structure.
Yes, something they can use right away.
You can say, my goal is to,
Then, I want to.
and finally, because.
For example, my goal is to learn English.
I want to speak with people from other countries.
Because I enjoy learning about different cultures.
That sounds very natural.
And very clear.
Now it's your turn to think.
What is one goal you have right now?
It can be small.
Or big?
Just try to say it in English.
You can say it out loud.
Or write it down.
For example, my goal is to, because.
Take your time and think about your answer.
And remember, there is no right or wrong answer.
Your goals are personal.
And they are important.
Now let's continue talking about how goals and dreams can change over time.
Yes, this is something many people experience.
Sometimes your goals today are different from your goals in the past.
And that is completely normal.
As we grow, we learn more about ourselves.
We also learn what we like and what we don't like.
And this can change our goals.
For example, when you were younger, your dreams might be very big,
Yes, and sometimes a little unrealistic.
like wanting to be a superhero.
That would be amazing.
Yes, but not very easy.
Over time, people start to think more carefully.
They choose goals that match their skills and interests.
Let's learn a useful sentence pattern.
The pattern is, my goals have changed over time.
For example, my goals have changed over time because I learned new things.
Or, my dreams have changed as I grew older.
These sentences help you explain change clearly.
Now let's look at another common question.
The question is, what did you want to be in the past?
This question is very common in conversations.
You can answer like this: I wanted to be blank.
For example, I wanted to be a doctor.
Or, I wanted to be a teacher.
Then you can compare it with now.
For example, I wanted to be a doctor, but now I want to be a designer.
That sounds very natural.
Let's build a longer answer.
When I was younger, I wanted to be a pilot
But now my goal is to work in technology.
because I enjoy learning new skills.
This answer shows past, present, and reason.
Now let's talk about another useful idea.
The idea of long-term goals and short-term goals.
A short-term goal is something you want soon.
For example, my short-term goal is to finish this course.
A long-term goal takes more time.
For example, my long-term goal is to start my own business.
These expressions are very useful.
You can talk about both types of goals.
For example, my short-term goal is to improve my English.
My long-term goal is to work in an international company.
That sounds clear and organized.
Now let's talk about plans.
A goal is what you want.
A plan is how you will do it.
This is very important.
Let's learn a useful pattern.
The pattern is, I plan to,
For example, I plan to study every day.
or I plan to save money.
You can also say, I am planning to.
For example, I am planning to travel next year.
These sentences help you talk about action.
Now let's combine goals and plans.
For example, my goal is to improve my English.
I plan to practice every day.
That sounds very natural.
And very useful.
Now let's talk about another question.
The question is, how are you going to reach your goal?
This question asks about your plan.
You can answer like this. I am going to,
For example, I am going to study every day.
or I am going to take classes.
This structure is very common in English.
It shows future action.
Now let's build a longer example.
My goal is to get a better job.
I am going to learn new skills.
I am also going to practice English.
That answer is clear and complete.
Now let's talk about motivation.
Motivation is the reason you want something.
It helps you continue when things are difficult.
For example, I am motivated because I want a better future.
Or, I feel motivated when I see my progress.
Let's learn another useful phrase.
The phrase is, I am working towards,
For example, I am working towards my goal.
or I am working towards a better future.
This sounds very natural.
And it shows effort.
Now let's talk about difficulties.
Sometimes goals are not easy.
Yes, sometimes you feel tired or discouraged.
That's normal.
You can say, it is not easy, but I will try.
Or, it takes time, but I will continue.
These sentences show determination.
Let's build a full example.
My goal is to improve my English.
I am working towards it every day.
Sometimes it is difficult, but I will continue.
That sounds very natural and strong.
Now let's talk about another useful question.
The question is, why is this goal important to you?
This question helps you explain your feelings.
For example, it is important to me because I want to grow.
Or, it is important to me because it will help my future.
These answers sound meaningful.
Now let's practice combining everything.
Yes, let's build a longer answer.
My goal is to improve my English.
It is important to me because I want to travel.
I plan to study every day.
I am working towards this goal step by step.
That is a very complete answer.
It includes goal, reason, and plan.
Now let's ask each other again.
Okay, I'm ready.
Jake, what is one long-term goal you have?
I think my long-term goal is to build a successful career.
That sounds great.
Yes, and I know it will take time.
What are you doing to reach that goal?
I am learning new skills and trying to improve every day.
That's a good plan.
What about you, Sophia?
My long-term goal is to continue learning and growing.
That's a very nice goal.
Yes, I think learning never stops.
I agree with that.
Now it's your turn to think again.
What is one long-term goal you have?
And what is one short-term goal?
Try to answer in English.
You can use the patterns we learned.
For example, my short-term goal is to,
My long-term goal is to.
I plan to,
Take your time and think about your answers.
and try to say them out loud.
Now that we've talked about goals, dreams, and plans, let's focus on how you can describe yourself more clearly in English.
Yes, this is where everything comes together.
Many English learners know simple sentences like, my goal is to learn English.
But sometimes they want to say more.
And that's what we'll practice now.
Let's start with a very useful pattern.
The pattern is, I would like to blank in the future.
For example, I would like to travel more in the future.
Or, I would like to start my own business in the future.
This sounds natural and polite.
Now let's improve it by adding more detail.
The pattern becomes, I would like to blank because blank.
For example, I would like to travel more because I enjoy learning about new cultures.
Or, I would like to start my own business because I want to be independent.
Adding a reason makes your sentence stronger.
Now let's look at another useful pattern.
The pattern is, I hope to blank.
For example, I hope to improve my English.
Or, I hope to find a good job.
This expression is very common.
And it sounds positive.
Now let's build a longer answer.
I hope to improve my English.
I would like to use it in my job.
Because I want to work internationally.
That answer sounds clear and natural.
Now let's talk about another useful expression.
The phrase is, I'm trying to blank.
For example, I am trying to learn new skills.
Or, I'm trying to be more organized.
This shows effort.
And progress.
Let's combine it with a goal.
For example, my goal is to get a better job.
I am trying to improve my skills.
That sounds very natural.
Now let's talk about habits.
Habits are very important for reaching goals.
Yes, small actions every day make a big difference.
You can say, I try to every day.
For example, I try to study every day.
Or, I try to practice speaking every day,
This shows consistency.
which is very important.
Now let's talk about a very useful phrase.
The phrase is step by step.
For example, I am learning step by step.
Or, I'm working towards my goal step by step.
This expression is very common.
And it sounds encouraging.
Now let's talk about confidence.
Sometimes people feel unsure about their goals.
That's true.
You can say, I'm not sure yet.
For example, I am not sure what I want to do in the future.
This is a very honest answer.
And very natural.
You can also say, I'm still thinking about it.
For example, I am still thinking about my future plans.
These answers are completely okay.
Not everyone has a clear plan.
And that's normal.
Yes, life is not always clear.
Now let's build a full example.
I would like to improve my English.
I am trying to practice every day.
I hope to use English in my future job.
I am working towards this goal step by step.
That answer sounds very natural.
And very complete.
Now let's talk about common mistakes.
Yes, this is very important.
Mistake number 1 is using very short answers.
For example, my goal is money.
This is not correct.
It's better to say, my goal is to earn more money.
Or, my goal is to have financial stability.
Mistake number 2 is not using to.
For example, my goal is learn English.
This is incorrect.
The correct sentence is, my goal is to learn English.
Always remember to use to before the verb.
Mistake number 3 is not adding enough detail.
For example, I want a good future.
This is okay, but it's too simple.
It's better to say, I want a good future where I can be happy and successful.
That sounds much better. Now, let's practice again.
Try to answer these questions.
First question, what is your goal?
Second question, why is it important to you?
Third question, what are you doing to reach it?
Try to use the patterns we learned.
For example, my goal is to...
It is important to me because...
I am trying to...
Shouting out loud will help you improve.
Even simple sentences are very useful.
Now let's quickly review today's lesson.
We talked about goals and dreams.
We learned how to describe them in English.
We practiced useful sentence patterns.
And we talked about common mistakes.
Most importantly, we practiced expressing ideas clearly.
Now it's time for our question of the day.
What is your biggest goal right now?
And what is your dream for the future?
Write your answer in the comments.
You can start like this. My goal is to do blank because blank.
And my dream is to do blank.
We always enjoy reading your answers.
It's a great way to practice your English.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe to Chill English channel.
Subscribing helps us continue creating calm and useful English lessons for you.
Keep practicing a little every day.
And remember, learning English takes time.
But step by step, you will improve.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you next time.